I would come home from school multiple days a week for the next 4 to 5 years and tell my parents that I should have died, I wish I was dead, and I want to kill myself. But what got me through was the strong voice in my heart that I know was the voice of God, because it brought me an overwhelmingly amount of comfort and peace, saying, I have a plan for you. You have to keep going. You can't stop.
Welcome to episode number 38 of the 100 Successful Women, a Conversation to Inspire series. Episode 38, once again, thank you so much to each and every one of you who have made this possible to reach episode 38. So in today's episode, I have someone also all the way from the USA joining us in our episode today. Her name is Elizabeth Meigs. So Elizabeth is someone that I met through one of the group that we were in, and I am so grateful that she is willing to be here sharing her wonderful story, and she is truly a warrior. So if you were asked who is Elizabeth Meigs, I'll just quickly read out her bio for you so that you have some idea who she is. So she is an overcomer and a fighter who knows her purpose to inspire, provide hope, and encourage those who are going through the toughest challenge of their life to not to give up. So Elizabeth had challenges when she was 14 years old. She was having her life and her world turned upside down in a car accident 1 week into a freshman year of high school. So everything in her life changed on the night. Everything for her and her family came abruptly to a stop. She learned how to overcome the hard obstacles, and deep down she knew that there was a purpose for all she was going through. Not only did her dreams change, but new purpose has revealed. So without reviewing too much in the bio, I just wanted you guys to listen to Elizabeth's stories and her insights and some of the strategies that she used in her time overcoming her challenge. So without further ado, let's dive into conversation between me and Elizabeth coming up next. Hey Elizabeth, how are you doing today?
I am very blessed. How are you?
I am good, thank you. And I wanted to say a big thank you to you for being here with us to share your story.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to have me on your podcast. I'm very happy to be here and be able to provide some hope and inspire other women to keep going despite the challenges of every day that they might face. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So where about are you in the world, Elizabeth?
I am in Waco, Texas.
Yeah, so you're basically in the other side of the world. I'm actually from in Australia at the moment. Thank you so much. What time is it there right now?
It is 6:30.
Okay, that's not too bad, right? I thought it's midnight or something like that.
Oh no, I wouldn't be able to do this podcast at midnight. So no, it's 6:30 p.m.
That's great. Thank you so much. So Elizabeth, one of the questions that I always ask all the guests first is I know that you have a few roles that you are playing. Obviously, you are a daughter, you are a coach, you have your own business. But who is Elizabeth really is at your core?
At my core, oh, wow, you kind of got me at that. I am a woman that has seen her share of challenges, been broken multiple times, and been able to find my strength to keep going and find my way to not give up. Be able to walk through the doors that were open for me because I knew I had a purpose. So I'm just very blessed that I was able to figure out how to turn all of the pain that I have suffered the last 23 years into my purpose.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Elizabeth. And I'm really inspired by your stories. That's why I thought I got to get you up here to share with us your stories, Elizabeth. Thank you for that. And I know that you have you are from Elizabeth Meigs inspires, and that's your kind of like your business. Do you want to share with us what brought you to become a holistic wellness coach and also a faith-based speaker?
Well, 23 years ago, at the age of 14, my whole world was turned upside down. At that point in time, I was a beautiful 14-year-old girl. I played every sport. I was a cheerleader, very, very popular. Everyone wanted to be my friend. I always had a boyfriend. My life was easy. I was a singer and songwriter, had been singing and performing since the age of 7, taken voice lessons. My voice teacher saw my talent, my gifts, and she had arranged for me to be in a recording studio in the spring of my 8th grade year. Everything was all set. My plans were for me to move to Nashville, Tennessee as soon as I graduated high school to pursue my singing and make it big on the country music stage. I was known for my beautiful voice, and everyone knew I was going places. But then 1 week into my freshman year of high school, I was riding a passenger in a vehicle. I was born and raised in a small town in southeast Kansas. So we were traveling down a rural 2-lane highway when all of a sudden we were struck from behind. This sent our vehicle into a tailspin, which proceeded into a barrel roll multiple times until we finally landed in the field on the opposite side of the highway.
Mm-hmm.
With every roll, my head was at the point of impact.
Mm-hmm.
EMTs arrived on the scene. I had to be cut from the vehicle, resuscitated multiple times at the scene to get me stable to be transported to the rural hospital, where they were not equipped for all of my medical needs at that rural hospital. So I was then life flighted an hour and a half away by car to a trauma center in Wichita, Kansas, where my parents and my brother and sister-in-law would receive a very dim prognosis. The neurologist and the medical team gave me less than a 25% survival rate. They told my family that I would need to be placed in a drug-induced coma to give my brain swelling the best chances of reducing and give my body and me the best chance of life. They got me stable a little over 24 hours in. My parents called all of my family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, who traveled near and far to be with my family at the hospital. I was stable. It was Sunday evening. All of my family had been awake for well over 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So my aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents decided to go get hotel rooms to get some rest, while my mom, dad, brother, and sister-in-law remained with me at the hospital. It was in the middle of the night on Sunday when my brain began swelling rapidly. The pressure in my brain got up to 6 to 7 times the normal cranial pressure. Doctors said this is likely the end, but luckily there was a Calvary Baptist minister in the pediatric ICU unit that night who offered to pray with my family. And my mom remembers that it was in this prayer that she felt a weight lifted off of her shoulders, and she knew I was going to survive. It was approximately 1 hour after that prayer that the brain swelling began to reduce. Doctors were able to get me stable, and I was out of the woods for the most part. I would remain in this coma for 3 weeks. The ventilator would be removed at 2.5 weeks. Once I came out of my coma, I was no longer that independent 14-year-old girl. I was reduced to that of an infant. I had to rely on someone to help me with absolutely everything. I couldn't even sit up on the edge of the bed by myself. They would get me in the chair right by the bed, the recliner, for 30 minutes, and I would sleep the rest of the day. I had no idea at this point, the struggles that I was going to face. I couldn't speak. It would be 43 days before I said my first words. And then my voice would be nothing but a whisper because my vocal cords were so weak from the ventilator that had been in for 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
I answered questions by squeezing my right hand or blinking my left eye. I had trauma to my right eye, so I would require 5 surgeries to get my eye open and get my eyeballs aligned to where when my eye was open, I didn't see double. My left side was affected, so it would be years before I could extend my arm and open my fingers without prying them open with my right hand.
Mm.
Once back in school, after 3 months of intensive rehab, that is when I discovered that I was going to be facing the most difficult challenges I would ever face. Because back in school, it hadn't dawned on me at that moment how different my life was going to be and that I was not that same girl that I once was. So much more difficult, everything I dealt with. My friends' lives had gone on. They still played the sports we loved, worked their part-time jobs, went out on the weekends. Me, I had to do therapy after school every day of the week. My parents had to hire tutors to help me to get caught up and stay caught up with my classes. My
Mm.
mom and I were working on homework every weekend and every night after school so that I could pass my classes.
Mm.
My friends didn't really have time for me. What I perceived is that they didn't really seem to care if I was around,
Mm.
which hurt because before that time, everyone wanted to be my friend. I had no problems making friends. People saw the beautiful person I was.
Mm-hmm.
People who didn't know me before the accident would judge me. They would see something physically wrong with me and decide that I wasn't worth their time, that I must have had something wrong with me up here. They had no idea that I was fully with it and how much that hurt. I would come home from school multiple days a week for the next 4 to 5 years and tell my parents that I should have died. I wish I was dead and I want to kill myself. I would break down so many times, especially in the very beginning. But what got me through was the strong voice in my heart that I know was the voice of God because it brought me an overwhelmingly amount of comfort and peace, saying, I have a plan for you. You have to keep going. You can't stop. I knew that with what I was dealing with, if I had had the opportunity to speak to someone who had been through what I was going through when I was going through it, it would have helped me so much. Now, it would not have been an easy button, but it would have helped me to have a little bit more hope. But I didn't have that. So I knew that one day God's purpose was for me to be that for someone else. I knew I had to be that for someone else who was going through these struggles, these challenges, wishing that and thinking that everything would be much easier if they were no longer on this earth. I promise you, that's not the case.
Mm.
I was so blessed that I had the knowledge and the wisdom, and every night before I went to bed, no matter what had happened that day, I would pray to God and go to bed with a thankful and grateful heart, thanking Him for my life, thanking Him for my blessings, and asking Him to lead me, to help me to make the right choices so that I could help those that He placed in my path. And I also prayed for everyone in the world because what I was going through, I wouldn't have wished on anyone. I got through high school by the grace of God, graduating with my class, having no idea what my purpose was, but just continuing to walk through every day, knowing that I had a purpose and continuing to pray to God every day, as well as whenever I faced a struggle, I would go to God in prayer and ask Him to help me through. And I'm going to tell you, He did. He has never failed me.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to college for 8 years, change my major 4 times before finally figuring out a part of my purpose. I graduated after 8 years with an associate's degree in occupational therapy. But when I walked into my patient's room who had suffered a stroke that is very similar to a traumatic brain injury,
Mm-hmm.
they would tell me that they couldn't do it, that they couldn't get through what they were dealing with. The fact that I could sit across from them and share my story with them, that gave them hope.
Mm-hmm.
That helped them. Every single one of them on the day I discharged them home would give me a hug and say, Beth, I couldn't have gotten through this without you. Thank you. That was the beginning of discovering my purpose. I worked in a rural hospital in the eastern side of Kansas for a year. It was only a 12-bed subacute rehab unit. After that year, I was cut to part-time because our subacute rehab unit had to close. So I was working at nursing homes, doing acute care, outpatient home health, getting really burnt out, being all over the place, and feeling like I wasn't really doing what God had called me to do.
Wow.
So in April of 2015, I had the opportunity to apply for a job in Waco, Texas, that would be again on a subacute rehab unit and get me back to doing what God had called me to do. So I interviewed on a Friday. Monday morning, I got a call that offering me the job. I
Wow.
accepted and moved to Waco in June of 2015, where again, God continued to place me exactly where I needed to be.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that part of the story of yours, Elizabeth. You are such a warrior. And then being in that situation, it's kind of very, very, like you say, it's going to impact you a lot. But because you have a purpose that you know that people out there need you. And yeah, that's amazing. I really think that, like I say, you are indeed a warrior.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you're the first person who's ever called me a warrior. Thank you.
You're welcome. I really think that it's like during that time when you're only 14 years old, and that has been many, many years gone by, and seeing you today and spreading the work that you are doing, I think the world really need you as well. And another thing that I was like, because you mentioned about your family, obviously your family was there for you during the incident, during the incidents that happened to you. So family, like, they play a crucial role during your recovery, of course, overcoming the adversity, right? So do you mind to share with us a little bit to become who you are today? How's your parents or your family play their role in your journey of recovery and your transformation?
Oh, my parents and my family were a crucial part of getting me through everything. My mom was a huge advocate for me. She would make sure that I had the very best. Whenever I would have a medical issue, she would make sure that she could get me the specialist if my doctor was having issues figuring it out. Um, After I regained the ability to speak, I did get back to singing. My voice teacher, who had quit giving voice lessons, actually had called my mom up after we were home from the hospital and said, I want to help Beth to be able to get her voice back. I'm no longer giving lessons, but I want to work with her pro bono because she's always had a gift and her voice is so beautiful. Now, after the accident, my neck muscles were affected. So the singing was a little bit not as effortless as it once was. I no longer had my natural vibrato, but getting back to singing got me through a lot of the judgment, because once I started singing and performing again, when I was on the stage, people would see something I was good at. They didn't see my physical deficits. They heard my beautiful voice and didn't judge me. So singing very much got me through high school. I continued to compete in talent shows and perform different places around in my local area. But my parents were just so crucial. My parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, my grandma, my aunt who helped me with homework, my sister-in-law who was good at math. After the accident, math became my most difficult subject. So that was one of the classes that I really had to have tutors. But my sister-in-law and my aunt would help me on the weekends. My aunt used to be a math teacher. My grandparents, my grandma, and my brother would take turns taking me to therapy after school on the days I had the therapy, because of course I wasn't driving. Without my parents and my family, I wouldn't be here today. God blessed me and gave me the best family who loved me unconditionally, who believed in me and knew that I could get through this.
Wow, that's
Belief
amazing.
is so powerful. So when you have the family and the support, people who believe in you, that can get you through so much.
Wow, that's amazing. And you got a village of supporters there to support you. Wow, I really love that. That's so important, right? To have someone to support you, and that's God's words to, like you say, to have your family with you. So, from what you were sharing, and I feel so touched by what you shared, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for what you just sharing, and then that's really close to heart. And at the time, in your journey from your trauma to the triumph, obviously you mentioned that God was the biggest supporter and get to become who you are today. So aside from God, aside from your own family, were there any particular books or mentors or resources that had significantly impact your mindset and resilience? Because obviously you need to have that resilience and mindset to get you over the hurdle. So is there any particular resources that maybe you can recommend to others as well?
The best thing that I can recommend is choice. We all have choices. I always chose God and put him at number one. As a teenager and young adult, I didn't know about any of these resources for mindset and all of that. I didn't discover any of that until I was building my entrepreneurial business. That's when God brought people into my life that talked more about mindset. And as I reflect back on the last 23 years, what helped my mindset was just being able to go to God and knowing that he had me and that he was going to carry me through everything. If I struggled, I always turned to him. So he is definitely number one, and what got me through everything. I just would discover prayer. Prayer can make miracles happen. If I didn't have anyone that I felt like I could talk to every night before I went to bed, especially on days when I was really struggling, I would cry myself to sleep just talking to God, letting him know my heart. He wants us to turn to him and ask him for help. And that was something that I was wise enough to do. Now, that didn't make it easier. I would continue to break down and ask why. Why did you do this to me? even though I knew in my heart that he didn't do it to me. Things happen. Worldly things happen every day. But when these tragedies or these struggles happen, God is begging you to turn to him because he's the one that can help you through it. And it's when you can learn to turn to him and continue to turn to him that he's going to remain faithful to you. So my faith is what got me. Faith and trusting in his plan for my life is what got me through.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And it's so true that, like we say, life is happening for you instead of to you. Obviously, God have a plan for you, and to be who you are today and saying your message, conveying your message to others who might be struggling as well. And that's your mission, or that's a bigger plan for you. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. So
now God has placed people into my life, significant people, some of my therapists, some of my doctors, that without them, I wouldn't be here because they were good. I've had good therapists, I've had bad therapists, I've had good doctors, I've had bad doctors. So for every bad apple, there's so many more good apples.
Yes, that's true. Very, very, that's so true that you just say they are always two sides of things, right, in our life. And another thing that I probably want to ask is that, looking ahead for yourself, what are your goals and your aspiration for the future in terms of like continuing to inspire and help others to overcome their own obstacles?
Well, I am working on my speaking business to where I can get on the stage and teach a few of the strategies that I learned from the stage. I have some things in the works to be able to help teach all of my strategies that I had to learn going through my darkest moments. So definitely follow me, Elizabeth Inspires, Elizabeth Meigs Inspires on Facebook and Instagram, because as I develop those programs, there will be more information about that. I'm working on writing my book. I am working on a few different talks, a few different versions of my story, so that I can teach these strategies that I had to learn that got me through everything. Had I not learned these strategies recovering from the accident, I wouldn't have been able to make it through the last few years when I was in a marriage that wasn't good for me. So the strategies have pulled me through every obstacle, every struggle that I've ever faced. And I'm so blessed that I was able to develop these strategies, and the more I use them, the easier and easier it got. They just come natural.
Do you mind to share like one of the strategies, like to overcome the obstacles or the challenges that you have facing those difficult times?
What you focus on grows. So positivity is so important. Whenever you feel like nothing but negative things are happening all around you, focus on the positive. At the end of every day, I want you to come up with 3 positive things from the day. Focus on those before you go to bed. In the morning when you wake up, focus on the positive. You're alive, you're awake, you're breathing. Tell yourself you're going to have a good day. Continue to focus on the positive. Because when you see the negative all around you, that's all you're going to see. So I want you to turn those negatives into positives. Ask yourself what you can learn from the situation to help you to better overcome future situations just like this.
Wow, that's so true. Focusing on the positive, focusing on what you can control instead of something that you can't control, right?
Exactly. Believe in yourself. It's hard when you're being attacked from every angle, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to know, if you don't have belief in yourself, I believe in you. I know you have everything it's going to take to make your goals and your dreams come true, to get through the challenges that you face on a daily basis deep inside of you. So I want you to remember that. Next time you feel like you're being attacked and you're listening to the voices in your head, I want you to hear my voice that says you can do this. You can overcome. You are strong enough to get through this, and don't give up.
Such a beautiful message there. That's so good. And I love that you have the belief in yourself and others and everyone out there who is listening. I believe that everyone can get what they want and moving forward, and look at what Elizabeth has been through and seeing here today, sharing with us her stories. You can all see that everything is possible as long as you have the beliefs.
Yes. And whatever is on your heart, you have the ability to make it happen. If it's on your heart, you can do it, but you can't give up. You can't let the challenges of today or tomorrow stop you. Each day is a new day to do better than yesterday. So one step at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time, just keep going. Focus on what you're going after. I know you can do this.
I love that. Thank you so much for that message. It's so, so, so important for everyone out there. And like you did mention that you do help a lot of your clients without disclose the detail. You do have a product that also help your clients. You have your strategies. Can you maybe share your client success stories? And because you mentioned about moving them from anxiety and depression and get them out from there, is that possible for you to share a story or a success story about your clients?
Yes. So in 2019, I found some holistic solutions that helped me to be able to regain my life, helped me to be able to just live a better life. I was sleeping better. I was the constant self-talk. If I ever had any negative self-talk in my head, got better. My mood improved. I was able to the discomforts in my left foot that I had. I knew when the weather was changing for over 15 years because of 4 foot surgeries that I had on my left foot after the car accident. With one of my natural solutions, it helps with the anxiety and the depression. I had a client who had lost her insurance, and so she wasn't able to get her depression medication anymore. So she tried one of my natural solutions. She was sleeping better, her mood had improved, and within days she was feeling like a brand new woman. She said, "Wow, this works. This is amazing." Another one of my clients, Barbara, had been unable to make a fist with her hands for over 4 years. She was not sure that her doctor hadn't been able to help her for 4 years. He was changing medication around and not ever able to really help her with the discomfort or the stiffness. So I told her about CBD oil, and she didn't know a lot about it, but I'm a certified CBD coach, and so I educated her, and she decided to try what I recommended. She started using the topical treatment as well as the oil sublingually under her tongue. And within a week, she was able to make more of a fist and her discomfort was better. But she says, this gives me hope, but I'm not there yet. After 1 month, I checked on her and she looks up at me with tears in her eyes and says, Beth, you are my angel. I never dreamed I'd be able to do my job with no discomfort. Thank you. It's amazing how people think that they can't get out of their discomforts, the stuff that they've been dealing with for years, because they've tried all the things that doctors recommend that aren't natural and don't fully help. But then when you discover a natural solution, I like to call it my hope in a bottle. I wasn't sleeping. For the span of 19 years, I was lucky to get 2 to 3 hours of halfway decent sleep. Some nights I didn't get any sleep at all. If my dog woke me up to take him out in the middle of the night, I could never go back to sleep. Within 2 or 3 days of using my hope in a bottle, I was sleeping good all night long. I would wake up to take Buddy out to go potty, be able to come back to bed and go right back to sleep. A month in, the hot flashes that I had been having since the age of 14 because the area of my brain that controls my hormones was damaged became less and less. My allergies improved. The discomfort in my left foot with the topical treatment was gone immediately. After 2.5 months of using the oil and the topical, I realized that I didn't really need the topical treatment anymore. It's been amazing.
Wow.
The people that I can give hope to and help with my natural solutions that help with so many things.
That's incredible. Yeah. So you did mention that you do have, like, because I did see on your QR code there will be you got a free offer for the listeners out there as well. Is that right?
Yes, I have a free strategy that is one of my strategies that has helped me get through every obstacle and every challenge that I had to face. This world is constantly changing. So unfortunately, those challenges and those daily stresses, they aren't going to go anywhere. So if you are being hit and struggling to get through the daily stresses and challenges that you face on a daily basis, I encourage you to scan my QR code or click the link that will be in the description later. Click on that and download this free strategy. Print it off. Keep it wherever you need it. Save it to your phone so that you can have it when you need it most.
Wow, that's such a good offer. And anyone out there who need this information, do reach out to Beth. And then I believe that they can find you on your website. Is that right?
Yes, Elizabeth Inspires. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Elizabeth Meigs Inspires. I'm on LinkedIn as Elizabeth Inspires as well.
Well, I'll include the link on there as well for you guys who have easy access. So I'm well aware of the time, Elizabeth, and I really appreciate your time with us here. I definitely can hear what you share is something that is very, very inspiring. And like I say, you are a warrior to get through your obstacles, your challenges, and being the advocates for people out there to know that despite all the challenges, they too can get out from it and become that warrior, become that advocates, and to become the faith-based speakers and helping more people out there. I really appreciate you sharing with us your story, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you helping to get my story out there so that I can help those who are struggling and feel lost and feel like there's no way out. I promise you there is a way, and I found it. So have faith, trust. I know you can do this.
Thank you so much. So because this is a 100 Successful Women show. So what is the one message that you can convey or to leave for other women out there before we end today's conversation?
Well, I'd like to share with you that just the fact that I've been able to walk through every door to every opportunity that is opened for me with faith and trust in my ability to succeed, that has been so rewarding. I never dreamed 23 years ago when I was that teenager curled up in my bed crying, asking why, that I would ever be where I am right now. But I did it. So whatever it is you're dealing with, keep the faith, keep trusting, and keep an open mind. Look for those doors that will open to new opportunities. Trust. Choose peace and comfort over chaos and confusion every time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time with us, Elizabeth. I really feel so blessed to hear your story today and hearing what you're sharing. Is there anything else that you want to say before we end the call today?
Just don't give up. I know that you have everything within you to make it through whatever you're being challenged with today and to make your dreams come true. I know you can do it.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And those of you who are listening, make sure you reach out to Elizabeth, give her a lot of support, and also to spread her stories to as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your time, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.